Welcome. We're going to answer this question before us, and it's a transformation question, everyone's favorite. It says the graph y is equal to x squared is transformed by a dilation of a factor of 2 from the y-axis, followed by a reflection in the x-axis, followed by a translation of 3 units in the negative x direction. After the transformations, the resulting equation would be which of these? Now, as we've seen, there are two ways of approaching a transformation question. The first way is to use inspection. So I'm going to call this by inspection. The other way to answer is not by doing it by inspection, but rather doing it by the method. And this is a bit more involved, but I want to go through both ways here, and you kind of need to pick which way is best for you. And it's really going to depend on the question. Don't always think I'm always going to do it by the method or I'm always going to do it by inspection. It really depends on what the question is saying. So for something like this, where it's a pretty straight dilation, then reflecting, then translation, transformation, I would just use by inspection. So, all right, so let's begin. We know that we're going to go dilations first, then reflections, then transformations. The first thing that we're going to do is say, well, I'm first applying a dilation by a factor of 2 from the y-axis. Now, what that means is I'm going to replace x with the reciprocal of 2, which is a half. So I'm going to replace x with x on 2. So that means it's going to become y is equal to, not x squared anymore, but this x is going to be replaced with x on 2. X on 2 squared. The next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to apply a reflection in the x-axis. All this means is that you put a negative in front of the entire thing. And then the last thing that we have to do is perform a translation of 3 units in the negative x direction. That means I'm going to replace x with, now if it's in the negative x direction, you got to remember to take the opposite sign. So it's going to be x plus 3. So that means what we're going to end up with here is x plus 3. Like that. Whoa. Perfect. So take note, I replaced the x with x plus 3. Looking at all my options here, none of them look exactly like this. Don't be thrown by E. E is not the correct answer there. It kind of looks the same, but as you can see here, the 2 isn't being squared, when over here, this squared is applied to both the numerator and the denominator. That means my final answer is going to be, I'm squaring the top, so x plus 3 squared, and I'm squaring the bottom. 2 squared is 4. That means C is the answer there. So they are trying to trick you with the E option there. So just be careful. Okay, that's how to do it by inspection. And for this question, I would really recommend you do it by inspection. But let's go through how you'd do this by the method, which is a bit more involved. But what are you going to do? Here we go. This is the way I like to do by the method. There are other ways to do it, and there are quicker ways to do it. But I find that my way is just very, it's like following a recipe. Okay, I always start by thinking, all right, I've got some point, and I'm going to some new point. That new point is x dash y dash. So I'm applying some transformation, which takes one point to another point. What are those transformations? Well, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to dilate by a factor of 2 from the y-axis. Now, if I'm dilating by a factor of 2 from the y-axis, that's impacting my x value. So my new x spot is 2 times x. Because you're dilating from the y-axis, it's affecting your x, so it's 2x. Then you're reflecting in the x-axis. Now, when you're reflecting across the x-axis, that affects your y values. So it's going to leave me with negative y. And then last things last is the translation. And this is 3 units in the negative x direction. So that means I minus 3 to my x value here. Okay, so now what I can say is that this x dash is equal to this. So my new x point is this, and my new y point is this. So I set them equal to each other, which is going to leave me with x dash is equal to 2x minus 3, and y dash is equal to negative y, which means x dash plus 3 is equal to 2x. So I'm solving for x now. X dash plus 3 over 2 is equal to x. And then over here, it's just going to be negative y dash is equal to y. Now you sub both of these into your original graph. So y is equal to x squared. So this goes into there, and this goes into the x spot. That means I'm going to be left with negative y dash is equal to x dash plus 3 over 2 squared. And then once we drop the dashes and take that negative over to the other side, you can see what we're going to be left with. We're going to be left with that, which is what we found over here. Now, which is the quicker way to do it? This is a multiple choice question. It is worth 1 mark. Do you think it makes much sense to do it by the method? I would argue, no, it does not make much sense to do it by the method. It's far easier to do it by inspection, but you've got to be comfortable with both ways of doing it and really thinking through these questions. Hopefully you found this helpful. I'll see you in the next one.